At AARP, we believe that what we do for all. We focus on issues that matter to people age 50 plus and their families. But at the end of the day, those same issues help create stronger, more livable communities for everyone. In this voter guide, you'll hear directly from candidates running for local office. These are the leaders who will help shape what our community looks like in the years ahead, from housing and transportation to public safety and neighborhood services. Because when it comes down to it, local policy matters. In fact, some of the most important decisions that affect our daily lives are made right here at the local level. What is your long-term vision for accommodating growth through mixed use and increased density without expanding sprawl?
A lot of longtime Sioux Falls residents are watching our city grow, and they're wondering, is Sioux Falls still a place that's livable, affordable, walkable? And these are all important questions. In 1993, my parents moved here, and they opened the first Vietnamese restaurant in Sioux Falls. And in 2018, they bought the building on 12th and Grange, and that was a watershed moment for our family. But I also saw what happened when they had the construction on the 12th Street Bridge. Almost immediately, traffic patterns changed, customers stopped coming in, and it made me realize that the development of our city sometimes has direct impacts on if neighborhoods thrive or struggle. But the good news is we've got great examples of what works. Look at Perch, look at the Lincoln Commons. Those breathed new life into our north side core neighborhoods. So what I'm proposing is that we look at the ordinances in Sioux Falls and make it easier to allow for mixed-use spaces like that. We need to create anchor spaces and infill development that helps continue to make our neighborhoods vibrant. We have so much existing infrastructure. If it was easier to access, to use them, to activate them, we could change how our city feels. Because a city that grows responsibly invests in its roots. And when we invest in our roots, we're building a city that works for everybody. People who came here 30 years ago, people who came here 3 years ago, people who moved here last month. And that's the type of city that I think we should be building.
The city continues to grow as people come here because we have an amazing city. Great parks, great places to be, wonderful bike system, hardworking people. We need to make sure that that growth is done smartly. As the city expands, we need to use the arterial roads that we have and grow around those. Make sure that the city's 10-year plan is adhered to. But that means creating neighborhoods where each person that moves into those neighborhoods knows that they are near a place of worship, near a grocery store, that they are connected via public transportation and private transportation via good roads. Also making sure that each neighborhood has a park. Maybe it's connected to the bike path, so you feel like you are living in your neighborhood rather than in a massive city. And that will make this continue to feel like an intimate, smaller town, that you feel like you know people, that you want to be here. With the council, that comes down to zoning. Most of what the city council does is zoning and making those decisions together. Again, building consensus. I bring positive, efficient, transparent servant leadership to Sioux Falls. That is going to be working together with the council to build a consensus, as I do with my board, as I do with my staff at the YMCA. I have 10 years of experience running nonprofits. We can manage this growth, make sure that each neighborhood has the right kind of zoning around it, so that no matter where in Sioux Falls you live, you feel a part of your neighborhood and a part of this city. We're going to continue to make this a welcoming, affordable, safe city where families can thrive. As your counselor, I'm excited to have the opportunity to do that.
That's a super interesting question, because at this point I've talked to a lot of seniors and no one has brought up that issue. But I think it's a very good one and something that warrants discussion. I would like to kind of talk about seniors in general and the fact that we tend to put people into groups. And seniors are not a monolithic group, and they have different views on all kinds of things, whether it's transportation or housing or how they want to age or where they want to live. And many seniors have said to me specifically, I'm very concerned about the fact that I'm on a fixed income and I don't want to have to move out of my house. I like being in my neighborhood. I like my neighbors. So I want ways that I can do that. And some of them are also in more rural settings, and they like their more rural settings. So I think one of the advantages that we have now with technology is we can use that to help people really enjoy the space that they're in and be able to take full advantage of our community without putting them into a specific category. So that's one of my favorite things about talking to all these people, is getting their viewpoints, understanding what they think, understanding what they want. And and one other thing that you don't have to include, but I talked to just a wonderful, wonderful couple recently that talked about specifically what it was like to age in Sioux Falls, why they like Sioux Falls, why it's a wonderful place to be, and how they hope that we can just continue to grow so they can thrive.
This is a huge topic for us that I think a lot of people don't understand the importance of. Is the reason that it's so important to increase density is that we already have the infrastructure in place. For example, we're already moving snow on that street. So if we can utilize that street for more, it just makes more sense rather than building another street where we've got to move snow and repair and maintain that street. So I would do this through a couple of things. Number one is we do got to do a better job of not necessarily just accommodating, but promoting and incentivizing mixed use. I'm thinking specifically along Minnesota Avenue and Cliff Avenue from about 14th Street all the way to 33rd Street. There's a lot of work that needs to be done there, and I think we've struggled to make impact there with some new zoning that we've even put in place. Live work. We're gonna have to consider some financial incentives. I know that financial incentives make everybody nervous, but here's the thing of why I think it's appropriate to incentivize is because it does cost more to sprawl. And so I think some of those savings can help us incentivize along the core. Second thing we need to do is we need to think about in these neighborhoods, not just, we think of multi-use as big apartment projects, but how can we do townhomes and twin homes in neighborhoods and maybe where they don't have the big backyard like they do in the suburban part, but what we can do is we can have more shared green space. So what can we creatively do to help bring renewal to some of our core neighborhoods by creating these community green spaces where you have that shared rather than the big yard to bring families in? The final thing is that we don't talk a lot about in our community is we have an amazing school system in our community. At the same time, though, we do have some challenges. We've got open enrollment, which my family takes advantage of. But our kids actually come in near 12th and Cliff to a school there. What unique programs can we put in some of these core neighborhood schools that's actually going to incentivize people to want to live in those neighborhoods? Because it all starts with the schools that brings families to those neighborhoods. So that's how I would approach it. That's how I would approach kind of bringing more density to the core of our city.
So I would say with that, green space with apartment units or any kind of housing units, make sure there's green space by it. I see a lot of people in the community talking about that Sioux Falls does not have enough green space, especially when they keep building in certain areas. I would like to get green spaces added and parks in those areas for children to play, grandkids at the same time. And then also I want to implement strict land use planning because there's been a lot of issues with that lately. So back in January, I was very much involved with the data center petition drive. The proposed data center that's supposed to be coming to town, and myself and Amanda Kendall through Let Sioux Falls Vote, we actually spearheaded that petition drive. So that's one area, and then I'm actually helping residents. So the proposed location that Smithfield is supposed to go to, I've been working with those homeowners as well in that area, and that comes into the permitting of land use. And then also in improving the roads, there's been several surveys that have been done in the Sioux Falls area where people have been saying that roads need to be improved and more money needs to be put into that.
Thank you for taking time to watch this voter guide. We hope this helps you stay informed, engaged, and ready to take part in building a community that works for people of all ages. Stay connected with AARP South Dakota at aarp.org/SD. And remember, Election Day is Tuesday, June 2nd.